What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another fantasy football video. Friday, so you know what time it is. Top 5 video. This one's going to be top 5 bounce back players for the 2017 season. Some guys that maybe we had some good expectations going into last season, but just did not perform how we wanted to. But then maybe it was some injuries that weren't reported, or maybe just things didn't go their way in the touchdown department. So these are the top 5 in no particular order, starting it off with Demaryius Thomas. And he's a tough guy to put on this list because he had a good year. But for him, it was not a good year. I mean, he was wide receiver 16, which is, twice as bad as he's really been doing in the past. And I think it's more touchdown flukiness in his last 2 seasons. I mean, he's a guy that we can project good touchdowns for. So he's a possession receiver. He's good in the red zone. He should be up in the 7, 8, 9 touchdown range. But he's been at 5 or 6 these past 2 seasons. And we remember, fantasy scoring is heavily weighted more in standard, but is still heavily weighted towards touchdowns. If you're only going to get 2 touchdowns, you're not going to be a 1. Like, that's just essentially impossible. You need touchdowns. So when we look back at his previous seasons, you see double-digit touchdowns. You see he's still been in that 90 to 100 range. It's just last season dipped in yardage, dipped in touchdowns. And I basically look at it from this perspective. He was unlucky in the touchdown department, but the receptions are still there. He's still going to have, 90 to 1,000 yards. Can the quarterback play get worse? I don't think it can. I mean, do we know who the quarterback is at this point? No. We have absolutely no idea. Is it Lynch? Is it Simeon? I have no idea. I really don't know. But I don't think it could possibly get worse. So if we look at that as a floor, wide receiver 16, 9 receptions, 1,005 touchdowns, I really don't think that's going to happen again. I don't believe he had injuries last season, but if you watched him, there were parts where he looked a little banged up, maybe sat out a few plays, but I'm not going to call him injured in the last season. But I would say we should expect around 95 receptions, about 11 to 1,200 yards, and probably 7 or 8 more touchdowns. Or not more touchdowns, 7 or 8 touchdowns. So that's going to put him a little bit above where he's being drafted right now. He's being drafted 12-team league. I usually see him go in the 3rd round, but it's usually mid to late 3rd round. I think that's a perfectly fine place to get him. If you can pair him with a good running back, so maybe pair him with 1st round, if you went like Freeman Ajayi in the first 2 rounds, I'm fine with Demaryius as my 1. I'm not sure what that would put you at. That puts you like late 3rd round. If you went Ajayi and Freeman in those first 2 rounds, pair him with Demaryius, I think that's a great start. So I think he can have a great bounce back season. So he's there. This isn't an ordered list. I'll say the first guy, but second guy in the list, Russell Wilson. Now, I attribute his decline in production last year 100% to his injuries. Week 1, he had an ankle sprain, and then a few weeks later, I believe it was week 4, but it could have been week 3, suffered an MCL sprain. Now, he didn't actually miss any games from these injuries, but he was very limited. I mean, there was talks that he was having to wake up, I think it was every 90 minutes or 2 hours to do therapy on his body. That's brutal. He was very injured, and you could see it in his mobility. 2012, almost 500 rushing yards. 2013, over 500. 2014, 850 rushing yards. Back down to 550 in 2015, and then 260 last season. That was all his mobility. And he's never going to be a high volume passer, but he's known for his efficiency. That's why we love Doug Baldwin, because he's not going to get, 120 catches, but when he's targeted, it's a good target because defenses have to watch out for Wilson running the ball. And he's so accurate and he's so good on the run throwing the ball that he doesn't need a super high volume to be efficient. So I think that it really hurt him not being able to move around as much, not being able to scramble. And obviously, you lose 300 rushing yards, that's going to hurt your status in fantasy. So quarterback 10, quarterback 8, quarterback 3, then he gets hurt, quarterback 11. I think right now he's going roughly quarterback 6. I know he's going behind Rodgers, Brady, Breeze, Ryan. Maybe he's quarterback 5. Luck 2. So yeah, he'd be quarterback 6. I think that's a great value, getting him at quarterback 6. Do I ever reach on quarterback? No. I mean, watch the quarterback rankings video. I like when people follow me, but I really feel like Wilson has been falling in some mock drafts. So if you can get him, scoop him up. I think he's a great selection this season. Great bounce back candidate. Tough offensive line, I will say that. Probably projected last for offensive line, but still think he's a good pick. Next, John Brown. You guys have already seen him in one top 5 list. He's not really being respected. I want to say he's going in like the 40s for wide receivers. And that's a lot of recency bias thrown in there, but also people are scared of the sickle cell trait. I'll say that it should be a factor. I mean, obviously, if you look at our premium rankings, he is not in the no-risk category. I mean, like, you just can't from the injuries he suffered. But look at his rookie season, 48 for 705 touchdowns. Back that up in a sophomore season, 65 receptions, over 1,007 touchdowns. So people expected big things last year, and a lot of people were burnt. I mean, he was on a lot of breakout lists. And for good reason, like, he should have been on breakout lists. He's fast. He's most comparable to Deshaun Jackson. Like, he's on an offense that is high scoring. Now, Palmer is probably going to take another step back this season, but he's on a high scoring offense on a team that, honestly, in my opinion, is going to be losing more games than they have in the past. And with Larry Fitz being another year older, I don't think Larry Fitz is done or anything. Like, I think Larry Fitz is going to be perfectly fine this year. But look who else they have. I mean, it's J.J. Nelson. Jerron Brown had that injury last season, so I don't think he's going to really threaten John Brown. I think John Brown is the number 2 in this offense. They don't have a tight end weapon at all. I mean, obviously, David Johnson, I'm just not factoring him in because he's a running back. But I think he can improve upon his 2015 numbers. And for where he's going, I mean, he's going in a spot where he has no chance to do that. I think it's a little silly. I mean, he's a better standard play. He actually has been more successful in the red zone and for getting touchdowns than you would expect of a player like him. But he's never going to be like a 90 reception kind of guy, especially with Larry Fitz and David Johnson there. But in a standard scoring league, I mean, he can get up to 1,100 yards. He can be kind of like a T.Y. Hilton, maybe not to that extent, sorry. But he can be a poor man's T.Y. Hilton. So I think he's a great pick late in drafts. I like Tyrell Williams a little bit more. You guys know I've said a ton about Tyrell Williams. But if you can get, him and John Brown and Tyrell, when you've already gotten maybe a Diggs, Crowder, Snead combo, maybe throw Tate in there for PPR leagues, and then you go running back heavy in all your other picks, I don't know. Seems like a really good upside play. But I like John Brown. I'm not too concerned with the sickle cell. He said he's over it, so I believe him. Next guy, Duke Johnson, the only running back on this list. Duke Johnson, it's gonna be interesting to see, will he play the slot? Because this is contingent upon him playing the slot. If he does, which I think he should, I really do think he should. If he is their slot receiver, he is a fantastic pick in PPR scoring. Fantastic pick. If he doesn't play the slot, you got to bump him down because his projection will be around that 50 to 60 reception range, in that 80 rushing yard range, because I think they realize he's not really a prolific running back, and they know that Isaiah Crowell is a good running back. But again, he's going to get some carries, so even if you play slot, he's going to get some. You know that offensive line is projected second, but it's top 3. That doesn't matter as much if he's a slot receiver, because then he's only going to get probably like 40 or 50 rushes. But I don't really care. I don't want him running the ball. I want him in the slot every single play on a team that's going to be down a ton. And he's been a great receiver. I mean, 50 or 60 receptions as a third down back. We can bump that up to what, like 70 or 80 receptions if he plays the slot? Maybe even more. 80, 90's probably pushing it. But 70 to 80 reception range, where he's going, if they keep him as a running back, that's another thing we have to think about, is like Yahoo and ESPN and everything, are they going to keep him as a running back? Early in the season, I think they have to. I think a player has to play a certain amount in a position before they'll change it. But if he's a running back playing wide receiver, isn't that what we dream of in fantasy? I mean, like, just imagine taking, a Willie Snead and being like, oh, by the way, he's a running back. Well, now I'm moving him up like 5 rounds. Like, I mean, it's insane. Like, the value at that position, if he's playing slot and you can play him at running back, that's huge. I mean, I'd bump him up to, I don't know, like a 7th round maybe? 7th round in a 12-team league for PPR scoring. Now, again, in standard, he takes a hit too, just like John Brown does, because the touchdowns. I mean, that offense isn't going to score many touchdowns. But in PPR scoring, I just think right now, especially, because I know some of you are doing drafts right now, this is being recorded late July, so I guess if he's not a slot receiver, I'm sorry, but that's what the talk is right now. If he is, fantastic pick, and I think that right now you got to take him where he's going just for that upside. Last guy on this list is Jeremy Maclin. I love me some Jeremy Maclin this year. Again, more of a PPR pick, but I don't think by any means should you really change his projection at all in standard scoring. I mean, I guess slightly prefer in a PPR setting, but I don't even care at all. I'll take him in standard and in PPR. These are his totals. So 85 for 1,310 touchdowns, then 87 for 1,108 touchdowns. Then last year, he played through a torn groin. And from a person who's suffered a groin injury, it is difficult what he did. It is tough playing through a groin. I've suffered a groin injury and had to play through it, and it's brutal. I mean, especially like if you don't get time off, it is tough to perform on the exact same level. So I get where he's coming from. Let's look at Jeremy Maclin on Pro Football Focus. Remember, if you guys do want access to Pro Football Focus, we have discount codes in the description box down below. You're getting 10% off of Elite and 12.5% off of Edge. I have the Elite version, so I have access to a few more stats. But let's just look at the numbers here. In 2015 and 2016 were completely different. But again, I'm saying let's throw out 2016 because groin injuries are brutal. 2015, he dropped 1 of 87 catchable balls. The best season of a Ravens slot receiver in terms of yards per route run was in 2016 by Steve Smith. Maclin has outperformed that in 3 of the past 4 seasons he's played the slot. Because remember, Maclin wasn't always a slot receiver. He kind of converted in 2012, 2013, and he's been running most of his routes in the slot since then. Chiefs quarterbacks had a 115.6 quarterback rating when targeting Maclin in 2015. That ranks him 10th highest in the NFL that year. His 12 touchdowns from the slot since 2014 are the 4th most in the NFL. His slot touchdowns accounted for 60% of the touchdowns produced over that time. He's probably going to play the slot for the Ravens. He's going to take over that Steve Smith role. For him to be going as late as he's going is just stupid. Maybe it's people don't realize it yet. I don't know. I mean, he's labeled as injury prone. We all know he's injury prone. There's no reason to expect him not to get another groin injury this season. I mean, we can't sit here and say we know the injuries are going to happen. What we can say is that if he plays 16 games, he's going to smash his draft position. He's going to absolutely smash it. So, for where he's going, I just think the risk-reward, I'll take it. I mean, I will take the upside of Jeremy Maclin given the downside because it doesn't really cost you that much. I mean, he's not going early by any means. So when you're getting him in a spot where you've already locked up, most likely, your top 3 wide receivers, for you to get a guy who has wide receiver 1 upside as your 4, I mean, I'll take it. I'll take that every day of the week. So I love Jeremy Maclin this year. Huge bounce-back candidate on an offense that, I mean, listen, they're going to be top 3 in pass attempts. They just lost Kenneth Dixon for the year. Do you really think their run game's going to do anything? Anything. Do you think Danny Woodhead and Terrence West, seriously? They're going to be so bad running the football that they're going to air it out the most of any team. You give me the slot receiver, in my opinion, clear-cut number 1 on that team, as late as he's going, how many pass attempts and targets he's going to have if he stays healthy. Love him. Absolutely love Jeremy Maclin this year. So he rounds out. He's probably number 1 if I look back at this list. Depends if Duke Johnson plays the slot. But I think all of these guys are going to be great bounce-back candidates in 2017. So that is the end of this list. If you did enjoy, please make sure to hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. 5 videos a week. You'll love them all, I promise. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.